Let's talk food and wine in Tonia's kitchen. Have a seat at the table. Here is Tonia King.
Joining me today is cookbook author Roxana Jullapat. Today we're talking about the brand new book, Morning Baker, Recipes and Rituals for Breakfast and Beyond. Thanks for joining me, Roxana.
Thank you so much for having me.
Is this your first book?
This is actually my second cookbook. My first one is called Mother Grains, and that was out about 5 years ago in 2021.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am an author and co-founder slash head baker of Friends and Family here in Los Angeles. Following the success of my first cookbook, Mother Grains, I wanted to write a cookbook to bring together years of early morning baking, including all my rituals, techniques, and hard-earned secrets, and share them with my readership and allow them to become a morning baker at any time they please.
For those of us that have no idea what Friends and Family is it a bakery?
Yes, we are a bakery and a cafe located in East Hollywood, Chi-Town proper here in Los Angeles. And we serve breakfast all day, lunch, and of course, a plethora of morning goods.
Is it a reflection of what you can find at Friends and Family?
It is, and yet so much more, because once you know a muffin, that's kind of like a blueprint, right? So once you have that roadmap to how to execute a perfect muffin, the opportunities to make wonderful muffins are kind of endless, right? So we have our few basics and favorites. Some of them were also revisited in my first cookbook, and then this one just builds on that. So for example, in the first one, there was a really good blueberry muffin, but here when we have one with a little twist that is more of interpretation of a overnight oats meets blueberry muffin. So it's jam-packed with oats and seeds and all those things that are good for you. But then I get a little bit further and incorporate other flavors that are also fun, to keep your morning breakfast really fun. So for example, there's apricots, and those have a butterscotch sort of glaze. And then there's a carrot cake turned into a muffin with a cream cheese glaze and a sprinkle of pistachios. There's buckwheat in every form, right? Buckwheat in the muffin batter, then buckwheat right on top and with a little bit of buckwheat honey. So it's just a way to have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting flavor profiles. I'd like you to get into detail. Tell me how to make one or two of those, either muffins or some of these other wonderful things in this book.
So I think like the cool thing about this cookbook, and it was definitely an intention when I sat down to start to write it, was that I really wanted you to be able to find your sweet spot. So if you're a novice baker, what is the goodie that will make you feel proficient, right? But let's say that you're a little bit more advanced, you can look further and look for things that are a little bit more advanced, right? So like the muffin is a perfect example, but there's also scones. Scones can be intimidating because to make a really good one actually takes a lot of thought process.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I find a really good scone in the book that I really, really am obsessed with is one that has dehydrated pears and chocolate. So it can be made year-round, right? Because dried fruits are available all the time. And the canvas in which all those things come together is einkorn flour, which is a really, really cool ancient grain. It's
Interesting.
It's considered the mother of all wheat. So we're going to start with like really cold butter, our einkorn flour, a little bit of sugar, leavening, which is really important in scones, particularly baking powder, a little bit of salt. And then we're going to have cream or buttermilk, right? I like cream for this one. And then we're going to leave our chocolate and pears to the very end. We are going to cut the butter inside all those dry ingredients using our fingertips, kind of almost snapping that butter into the flour and constantly fluffing it so that those butter pieces are often and almost at all times coated in flour. And then right when we're ready when our butter has reached like that point where it resembles little peas and a little bit of cornflakes, they're very not uniform at all in size. We are going to make a hole in the center of this bowl with all those dry bits, and we're going to add all our liquid, our cream in this case, then come together. Like I always say, mix as if you were tossing a salad with your hands, a big
Yeah.
salad with open hands, open fingers, right? And then once it comes together, let's make sure that our pears and chocolate is in there. And then we're gonna pat it into a cake, sort of like a circle that resembles our cake. It's about 7 to 8 inches in diameter. And we are gonna cut into wedges. I like to do 10 wedges. And then the secret to my success is to freeze those scones.
Oh, no
Freeze them.
kidding.
Yeah, freeze them. And then we're gonna bake from frozen. That freezing, what it does is like it tells the scone, you gotta keep your shape. Don't become a sloppy mess in the oven.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
Interesting.
yeah, and we bake at a really high temperature actually. Like we're gonna bake at 400 degrees to get maximum impact, right? Like crusty outside, tender inside, and they don't bake for a long time, depending on your oven, about 20 to 24 minutes.
That's amazing because sometimes scones can be really dry.
Absolutely. And I would say, like the cool thing about being a morning baker is that we're living in the moment, right? So
Yeah.
that scone in the morning with a little bit of melty chocolate and your cup of coffee is the right way to start a day.
It's almost like you become a scientist trying to put all these
Oh,
different things together.
100%.
Yeah, you're creating these breads and brioche, everything, and it's really interesting. You must be fascinated by what you experiment with.
100%. And we are constantly failing, right? Failure is such a tremendous teacher. So that's why, like, I've learned to really, really admire and trust fellow cookbooks and cookbook authors, because the amount of work that goes into sending out into the world that final recipe is tremendous. And somebody did that for us.
Yes, recipe developing is really an intense thing, isn't it?
It can be a hobby, but for some of us, it really is a way of life, you could
Yeah.
say. At the end of the book, I end up with a chapter called Whole Grain Anytime Bakes, because I wanted to offer recipes for those instances that have nothing to do with breakfast. So I wanted to have a killer pie dough recipe, a killer quiche crust recipe with a perfect custard, an awesome short crust to make little cookies and tarts. So anything in that chapter is kind of like a banger, right? It was like, all I got. Here you go.
Yeah.
These are
So
gonna work every
well,
time.
I just love the way you approach your baking. Just all the different little tricks and tips that you're sharing with us. Like, I would never think of putting sour cream in my pie dough. And it's an exciting thing now to try.
Absolutely. And I actually grew up abroad. I am a Costa Rican kid. I only moved here to the United States when I was 22. And so I have very little attachment to certain American classics. And I feel like in a way that has been a really good tool for me, because there's nothing sacred, right? So
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel I've given myself permission to break all kinds of rules. So for example, sour cream in your pie dough instead of like the
Absolutely.
traditional water or water and vinegar.
But that's what's so great is stepping out of the box instead of making everything the way maybe those of us here in the US have always thought about making it. I love being able to step out of the box and try interesting concepts, which it sounds like this book is filled with quite a few of them. We are talking with Roxana Jullapat, and the brand new book is called Morning Baker. What a wonderful book. We are talking with Roxana Jullapat about her brand new book, Morning Baker. How do we find you on social media to dig into more of the great recipes that you have?
So you can find me at Roxana Jullapat. That's RoxanaJullapat. You can also follow our bakery, Friends and Family. We are at We Are Friends and Family. And of course, you can visit us in LA. We have two locations, one in East Hollywood or Thai Town, second one in Silver Lake.
It's really been a pleasure chatting with you and learning so much about baking and just some really cool ideas. I appreciate your time today, Roxana.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you'll subscribe to this podcast as we continue to take you around the world of food and wine on Tonia's Kitchen.